What's a harmless thing that terrified you as a child? That little rope of boys that separated the deep end from the shallow end in the pool. Yes, I'm 35 and those still creep me out. Not to mention those large boys in lakes/oceans. I'm not much of a swimmer, BC pretty much anything in the water, including dark water itself, creeps me out. I love swimming, but any and all water that isn't contained in a pool or bathtub or whatever is ducking terrifying to me, which caused a lot of problems for me growing up because it was hard to get adults to believe that I knew how to swim. I remember in like grade 4 my class had a field trip to popular swimming beach and I just chilled building sand castles and shit. And then the next week we had another field trip to a local swimming pool where they started splitting everyone into groups based on ability. And some chaperone who'd been at the river started shuffling me into the no experience group. But pretty much the second we hit the water it was obvious I was in the highest ability group. Whenever the floorboards creaked, I imagined myself or my bed falling through the floor into the basement. Happened to a neighbor's daughter, 13-year-old girl, chilling in the bath. There's a creak and next thing the bath is in the kitchen. She wasn't hurt. By any chance, was your neighbor's 13-year-old daughter actually Cleveland Brown? Escalators scared the shit out of me, trying desperately to fit within a rectangle before it becomes a step, jumping off of them at the end to avoid being sucked down into oblivion. And there was one or two anecdotal stories from the news to convince me that they were, in fact, killers. I'm dead certain I triggered an escalator to go into safety shutdown mode as a kid. It had bristles on either side, so I shoved my dumb kid foot into it thinking it was a shoe polisher, and when my dumb kid foot got stuck for an instant the whole thing came to a sudden halt. The grumblings of all the adults, parents of mine included, made me think I shouldn't ever tell this until just now. Ceiling fans. I was afraid that it would come off the ceiling still spinning and chop me up like a helicopter blades. That and millions of bugs crawling through the windows and covering my bed like the plastic casket things people used to lay in on Fear Factor. Yeah. I totally grew out of that fear. It's not like I, an adult, strategically arrange my bed to make sure that the ceiling fan can't kill me while I sleep. That would be so silly. Terry Fox. So in Canada we have Terry Fox Day and the Terry Fox Walk because this guy, Terry Fox, tried to run across the country on one leg to raise cancer awareness. My child brain however didn't quite understand why. I didn't really understand what cancer was and nobody would tell me anything more than it's what took Terry's leg. I assumed it was a person or something. So all I knew was that we were walking because a dead man with one leg said we should spread word about cancer who stole his leg and giving him money. I was so scared that if I forgot to donate or if I missed the walk that Terry Fox's ghost would come with whoever cancer was and take my leg too. Old televisions, right after you turned them off, they would glow for a bit. That's when the monsters could come out of the TV and get you. Sounds like poltergeist has scarred another person. I had to, and still do, always close my closet doors, and was absolutely terrified of looking under my bed, especially at night. That ducking alligator under my bed that wanted to eat my feet. You gotta turn the lights out and jump in bed quick to avoid its wrath. Porcelain dolls. I'm 27 now and still terrified lol. Emergency broadcast. Duck that noise to this day. When you're just vibing at 1 AM and that ducking alarm comes out of nowhere and sends you to the shadow realm. Sharks in the swimming pool. Could be 3 feet deep and I was still terrified Jaws was just gonna leave only my trunks floating in the water. Lol, you ever floated in a pool while closing your eyes and then your brain is like, imagine if this was the ocean and you jolt to open your eyes to remind yourself you're not. Getting on and off escalators. I thought it'd slip getting on and scrape myself on the edge and need stitches. Or get my shoelace stuck at the bottom and trip and need stitches. Also, stitches. The busy tone when a call went dead. That used to scare the shit out of me. Swallowing seeds from fruits. Was teased that they would grow and take over my insides and a tree would eventually burst out of me. I thought the bathtub drain would suck me down with the water. Helicopters. I remember freaking out and crying if I saw one. They were like sky spiders. That the knot in my belly button would come undone and all my insides would leak out. I wish I was making this up. I also realize now that your navel is not an actual knot. Also, that if too much of my arm or leg was sticking out from under the blanket, the bad guy would be able to get me. Edit. AWW. Thanks guys. My first awards, and it's because I was an idiot child. I'm quite relieved to realize there were a lot of others just as neurotic about their belly buttons as me. Lon Flamingus. My big sister told me that they could take your soul if you looked into their eyes, so I'd run past them with my eyes covered. One night every time I closed my eyes, all I could see is a gorilla with a zip up and shades on. I slept with my mother and father that night. The THX sound effect that preceded most movies in the early 2000s. It always scared me as a kid. I listened to it last night and it still makes me uncomfortable. Not sure why. Mascots. Like the people that dress up in those costumes that are fuzzy and have giant heads. Terrified me. Literally I would crawl up my dad and beam my eyes out. One time at an amusement park, a guy dressed up as Yogi Bear kept coming towards me despite my terrified screams. And my dad almost had to kick Yogi Bear's ass. True story. I'm 25 and they still spook me. I keep my distance. Honestly, I don't get it. They see you terrified and crying and then, instead of backing away, like I don't get paid enough to deal with this shit, they go for line gonna eat you and your beloved ones like maniacs. Turn off the lights to the basement and then running up the stairs. The concept of eternity. I was raised Christian and was terrified of the idea of spending forever in either heaven or hell. Forever sounded scary. The sound of the toilet flush. I would wash my hands first then flush and run out of the bathroom. Apparently everything. My mom was always the worst case scenario. No matter what I did, it was don't do that. You're going to poke your eye out. You'll crack your head open. And the list goes on. Could not sleep with my closet door open. I saw way too many movies with scary things in the closet. So I figured a shut door guaranteed my safety. I was a weird kid. Not me but my husband, Jupiter. Something about the sheer size of it? I was on the toilet, and for some unthinkable reason I was scared that the Hulk would come out the toilet and shove a knife up my ass. Why the Hulk? And why wouldn't he just shove his fists up my ass? Either way, it ducking confuses me. My mom, dad, and I lived in the hood, and when my parents divorced, really bad divorce, my mom told me, I'm the man of the house. Since it was the hood, break-ins were commoner, so were gunshots and sometimes murder. I imagined a dude breaking in and having to protect my mom. I couldn't think of a strategy to take a grown man on. It scared the shit out of me. Not that I had to fight a man, but that I couldn't protect my mom. Even with my bat I felt like I stood no chance. But after thinking it through a lot, I realized my best chance to take a grown man on was the element of surprise. I have to get a good clean hit, a KO or at least a good stun. So I thought of all the vantage points that I could use to help me surprise an intruder. If they were not in the house yet, I had a spot. If they are in the living room or hallway, I had another spot. Running scenarios in my head really helped me with the fear. At least now I felt I had chance. But I still had tons of nightmares of break-ins, fighting, and them hurting my mom and ultimately failing as the man of the house. Edit. I guess it harmless, because nothing ever happened and I took man of the house too far. My 3 biggest fears as a small child. 1. Leaves. 1 came down out of a tree and hit me in the face when I was 3 and freaked me out. 2. Heat monsters. My parents' house had electric heat and the radiators would make these weird crackling sounds that I thought were monsters in the heater. 3. E.T. Ducky. T. And his stupid glowing finger and stretchy neck. I was especially frightened by Whitey T when he was dying. I was really scared of the song Tiny Dancer for a long time. Whenever I heard it, it reminded me of a black and white horror movie, lost to the depths of my memory, where this boy and girl were running through cornfields from something you couldn't see. Honestly, though I love the song now, it still gives me the creeps. Lol. The time 10 o'clock. I had a digital clock and every night, I asked my mom to flip the clock around so I wouldn't have to see it. IDK why I was such a weird child. Danny DeVito. Nobody knows where it came from. My guess is Matilda. I know this sounds odd, but water heaters, boiler tanks, etc. in cellars and basements. I have no idea why. They looked like monsters to me when I was little. It still freaks me out. Creepy little ducker. Edit. Wow guys. Never felt so validated in my entire life. Everyone always made fun of me for it, and I still won't watch it in my 30s. The worst is when he gets sick and turns white. I could crawl out of my skin. The way horses don't have white in their eyes used to scare the hell out of me. This also applied to Percent Boots when he did the pouting thing. The kids that could flip their eyelashes. Duck. That ducking gave me nightmares. Not me, but my daughter, she was afraid of balloons. The floating freaked her out. She wasn't afraid of them because of popping. She was especially scared if she saw a balloon that lost some of its helium and that would hover. Not wearing socks to bed. I thought a toe monster would grab them and pull them off. So wearing socks fooled it into thinking I didn't have toes. The clothes in my closet at night, when the light hit them just right. The Pep Boys logo, or really any mascot that included a stylized person with glasses, but no eyes to be found behind the glasses, freaked me TF out. Claymation. Shit still scares the duck out of me, to be honest. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.